Hey there, I'm Mark, in affiliation with Spectrum Pulse, and we're in a bit of a weird time for the charts, but doesn't mean we don't have a lot of crap to get through, and it's Billboard BREAKDOwn.
I don't remember.
So this is not quite the most exasperating time to assemble this series, but it's sure up there. It's the weird dead zone after Christmas, well, for everyone except me, and I'm working on year-end lists. The best hits is live on my main channel. The best songs list will be out in a day or two. Please go check it out, subscribe both here and there. But the charting week being tracked is that of Christmas, so that for the most part we're still talking about holiday music, for better and for worse. We actually did get a few more new arrivals this week than I expected, which I largely chalk up to the Christmas glut forcing a lot of songs off, so something had to fill in the gaps. Don't worry, more of them will be back sooner than they should be. In fact, you know what? You're not worrying. Songs running too long is part of what Billboard put in their new recurrency rules to fix. And speaking of which, if you're gonna make some chart changes to your baseline methodology, why not make your tracking year more representative of the calendar as a whole? I guarantee you it would be a lot better. It's a major problem. Well, anyway, our top 10 is literally all just holiday music. It literally just matches a streaming chart. I'll name them all off, and if it sounds a bit perfunctory, well, it's because it is. All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah Carey at number 1. Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree by Brenda Lee at number 2. Jingle Bell Rock by Bobby Helms at number 3. Last Christmas by Wham at number 4. And Santa Tell Me by Ariana Grande at number 5. Round things out, The Christmas Song by Nat King Cole at number 6. Let It Snow by Dean Martin at number 7. Overtaking Underneath the Tree by Kelly Clarkson at number 8. Then It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year by Andy Williams at number 9. And breaking into the top 10, we got Sleigh Ride by the Ronettes. I don't expect any of these will be in the top 10 next week, except maybe a few at the very top. Let's just move on. Now, again, the holidays are a little interesting in that they tend to trigger a lot of losers and dropouts, some long overdue. And we got some big ones this week, but the reality is that a whole bunch of them are gonna come back next week because the radio is not going to reset its playlist after the holidays end. As much as Billboard is trying to force more traffic and recurrency, stodgy radio airplay numbers and streaming playlists, they're not gonna keep up. They have no reason to. So yeah, I'm not gonna complain that Ordinary by Alex Warren's finally gone, alongside Mutt by Leon Thomas, Daisies by Justin Bieber, Nice to Meet You by Miles Smith, It Depends by Chris Brown and Bryson Tiller, and Father Figure by Taylor Swift, but I am convinced many of these goodbyes are gonna be short-lived. More's the pity. And yet, because so many of these are falling away, we actually have a shorter number of losers than you would expect because the bottom 50 didn't move that much. Golden from K-pop Demon Hunters fell to 25. The Fate of Ophelia and Opalite by Taylor Swift hit 28 and 54 respectively. Man I Need by Olivia Dean slid down to 36. Choosing Texas by Ella Langley hit 48. Folded by Kehlani's at 51. Back to Friends by Somber hit 52. And Eternity by Alex Warren mercifully hit 91. Now, we did have a few debuts from last week seeing some losses, like First Day Out by Pooh Shiesty sliding down to 53, Mr. Recoup by 21 Savage and Drake at 67, and Turn the Lights Off by Kato and John at 99. But at least with Pooh Shiesty, I can see a massive bounce back week. It might even have enough to get to the top 10 next week. We'll have to see. But before we get there, our returns and gains. And here's the last major spurt of holiday music for all of you, where we get all the returns that couldn't get back in before now. That's saying something. Snowman by Sia at 41. I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus by the Jackson 5 at 44. Happy Xmas War Is Over by John and Yoko and the Plastic Ono Band at 45. You Make It Feel Like Christmas by Gwen Stefani featuring Blake Shelton at 46. Linus and Lucy, the Peanuts Theme by the Vince Guaraldi Trio at 47. And 2 from Bing Crosby. Mele Kalikimaka by at 49. And I'll Be Home for Christmas at 50. And let's not count out the holiday gains here either. Christmas Time Is Here by the Vince Guaraldi Trio at 23. Mistletoe by Justin Bieber at 29. Baby It's Cold Outside by Dean Martin at 35. Winter Wonderland by Darlene Love at 40. And Shake the Snow Globe by Gwen Stefani at 55. What I find more interesting are the 2 non-holiday songs that saw some gains off their debut. Chanel by Tyla, I'm less impressed by it at 82. Even if she is on average a pretty good presence on the Hot 100, but 4 Raws by EsDeeKid is starting to get some credible momentum at 64, and when we consider one of our debuts, he could be primed for a good year, or at least a good couple of months. But before we get to him, a pretty sparse list of new arrivals. Not that I'm complaining, I'm going to enjoy a lighter holiday workload for once. So let's start with number 100, Die on This Hill by Sienna Spiro.
I'll take tonight and die on this hill.
Okay, UK pop singer-songwriter who went viral on TikTok and saw some success in her home country, with this being her first crossover hit, and I'm honestly a bit conflicted on the surface. And on the one hand, it's a drippy piano ballad with some strings embellishments that are very classy and dignified, even if the vocal mastering is clumsier than it really should be for someone as big of a voice as Spiro has. And I can't say I'm wild about that voice either. She reminds me a little of Sigrid in that her power is making up for her refinement, which I guess alongside the stabs at soul makes a little bit of sense, but A, the clumsy mastering is the last thing you want in that case, and B, man, someone really wants to take on the Adele template, but also somewhat missing the firepower that make Adele so special. Because when we look at the lyrics and content, I did not expect a Stand By Your Man song to get cut in 2025, but it might be worse than that. Because it's very clear Spiro is playing someone who is in a bad relationship, knows it, but is simply sticking by the neglect and the poor treatment because she said she would, and gosh darn it, that's gotta mean something, right? Okay, I get the emotional through line of just trying to tough it out or just plain stubbornness, but throughout the song, she not only sounds miserable and aware that this guy's not gonna change, she seems acutely aware of that none of this makes sense when the promise of love just tastes like ash in her mouth. There is romantic bravado, and then there's a song where the promise starts to feel more like a threat, and there's this ugly, sour undercurrent to it all. This is the first time I've really engaged with the song after hearing about it for so many times. Yeah, I'll take Olivia Dean any day over this. I really don't care for it at all. Number 94, It Feels Like Christmas by Fall Out Boy.
It's true wherever you find love, it feels like Christmas. A cup of kindness that we share with another, a sweet reunion with a friend or a brother. In all the places you find love, it feels like Christmas.
Yeah, we're at the point of the holidays where goddamn Fall Out Boy is charting Christmas music. It always gets a little weird and loopy around this time of year. Okay, for context, it's Fall Out Boy covering a song from the Muppets Christmas Carol, the best version of that story, and arguably the best Christmas movie ever, don't at me. So Fall Out Boy making a pop rock cover of that, well, they at least used to have a goofy sense of humor to sell it, especially if Kermit the Frog is contributing a line. Well, I could say that if the mix didn't sound like complete overcompressed ass, the cymbals and guitars are pressed into mush, all the vocals sound canned, there's no tangible sense of dynamics. It feels like the cheap as hell punk rock covers a pop song where the joke is that they're totally better and taking the piss out of pop music when really they just sound like a total hack job. And yeah, Fall Out Boy haven't exactly been covering themselves in glory the past few years, but this is lousy. Just because it's from this band doesn't mean we need to dignify it. Number 88, The Christmas Song by Olivia Dean.
Many times, many ways, Merry Christmas to you.
Welcome to the most obvious move imaginable for Olivia Dean. She's tasteful, clearly indebted to the classics in the music industry. She was going to make at least one Christmas song, and if she got lucky and it fell into regular rotation, she would have a license to print money. Now, to be completely fair to her, she's not going to be beating Nat King Cole's version anytime soon, but this is credible. The drum mixing and strings are softer and not overstated. She leans into some smoother, vintage R&B to not overdo her husky vocals. It's walking the narrow balance between modern polish and some throwback charm, which only tips with some of the backing hums on the bridge, which don't quite feel needed, a bit overstated. That, alongside with the tempo being a little quick. Honestly, I'm nitpicking at this point. And when you follow a plainly bad example of how to make holiday music, you hear exactly how to do this right. Looks like Olivia Dean's instincts continue to be on the money. No complaints. I like this. Good song. And finally, number 81, Phantom by EsDeeKid and Rico Ace.
This song your national anthem. Fuck gold, I want platinum. Me bro sipping some magnums. Got girls flocking all over cause I'm young, lit and I'm handsome.
Okay, this felt inevitable as soon as 4 Raws finally started to see some stateside traction. It's got motion in the UK, and even if we're just dealing with EsDeeKid handling a hook and Rico with the solitary verse, it's not a bad thing to see EsDeeKid try to put someone on for a song that doesn't even run 2 minutes. And that was before I heard the grimy bass swamp and clipped the entire mix, from the vocals to the oversaturated synth, where it gets actively frustrating because I think EsDeeKid at least has the personality to carry a song like this without blowing it all out for the live show. It makes the recording just sound sloppy. This is also where some cultural differences might not work out in his favor. Apparently, magnums are oversized bottles of wine and liquor in the UK, whereas stateside in hip-hop they're way more associated with condoms, and that provoked a rather disgusting image of him sipping out of them, and it just kind of sounds weird for him to talk about his phone having a tantrum, and that translates directly into the annoyance of Rico Ace, who despite having more intensity in his voice is using his bars to complain about his girl wanting to question his weed smoking when she does a lot of cocaine. She's a hypocrite and a coke whore. The entire verse is just full of consistent irritation alongside all the flexing, and it's really an awkward vibe, not the best introduction to him. And while I still like 4 Raws despite the issues, I'm starting to get the uneasy feeling I know why some have already moved on from these guys. Sadly, there's just not as much here to like. And yeah, that's our week. Tried to keep it short, folks, mostly for the worst given all the songs we have here, but at least the best and worst fall out pretty easy, with the Christmas song cover by Olivia Dean getting the top spot, and Die on This Hill by Sienna Spiro getting the bottom. Man, that really caught me off guard and struck an ugly, sour note. I really did not care for it. Next week, it'll be a busy return to normalcy episode. Stay tuned for that. But until then, I'm Mark. You're watching Billboard Breakdown, affiliated with Spectrum Pulse. And I'll see you next time.